Guys who married Bridezillas, what happened after the wedding?
Divorcosaurus X.
My buddy married a bridezilla. They are still together 10 years later. She posts on Instagram about their supposedly perfect marriage, but have been separated twice. I'm not sure how many of her friends know. He's an alcoholic now.
Divorce after 2 years. She moved her stuff out while I was at work. I cried, and then when I got remarried to someone new, I realized what real love was. Also, my ex shit herself on 5 separate occasions when she was blackout drunk because she was an alcoholic. So I don't miss that either.
Cheated whole time. Left for an alcoholic guy who had more money.
My brother's fiancé went off on my mom in front of me and my sister when he was 45 minutes late to the rehearsal due to his best man's car tire blowing out. Where is your asshole of a son? Dude should have never showed up for the wedding. Not only a bridezilla, but a total utter sociopath. Her life was completely fabricated, and her parents, who didn't show up for the wedding, called my mom to tell her the truth about it the day after. She had a rap sheet a mile long and a prison record. But my brother, who just wanted to believe that people can change, stuck it out for 7 years. Don't do that. Don't ever do that.
My sister was labeled a bridezilla by the staff at her venue. I heard them. However, the chair coverings were red, supposed to be brown. There was no mirror in the bridal suite for her to get ready at. The photographer was late. The makeup artist was very late. Hence the issue with the mirror. The buffet was totally wrong. Not a single dish she chose. And they charged $25 a person for what was to be a 4-tier chocolate fountain, but ended up being a small plastic contraption that she saw them unboxing from Walgreens the day of. It's a convenience store. On top of it all, the wait staff was 1/2 the number the contract stated, and the DJ refused to honor the playlist selected. So, yeah, she lost it at the venue.
My buddy married a bridezilla. She was a bridezilla long before the wedding, and they had dated for about 7 years. I have no idea how they are doing. I just kind of stopped talking to him a few years after she claimed I ruined his birthday by remaining sober. I had driven 5 hours to be at his birthday.
I married a bridezilla. He is a lovely, sweet, thoughtful man, but boy did he lose it surrounding the wedding. I could have been married with about 3 special people there. He needed 200 plus. As far as I was concerned, we could eat off paper plates and napkins and have a big bonfire to burn him afterwards. He need personalized moist towelettes. You get the point. He is a lovely person and I love him dearly, but I will never marry him again.
The couple I knew, they spent tens of thousands on their wedding, and then a couple of years later she cheated on him with a much younger man.
Married for 7 years before I bailed. Best decision of my life. Got married again 5 years later to a girl that just wanted a justice of the peace wedding. Second best decision of my life.
As someone who used to manage a men's warehouse, I can't wait for someone to start the thread about prom moms.
I knew I would have been a bridezilla. I get extremely stressed about things and refuse to ask for help. My husband and I got married at the courthouse. Best decision ever.
I'm a bride-to-be, and the way people are encouraging some bridezilla behavior from me is something I never expected. I got incredibly lucky and found the exact wedding dress I wanted at Goodwill in my size with the tags on. And people are like, shush, don't tell people. Tell them you got it for $1,000. Brag about how much you got it for. Yeah, no. I'm more proud that I found it thrifting. Also, for brides on a budget, this is where I found mine. Lots of great affordable options.
Got into a huge fight about broccoli on the honeymoon, all my fault of course. I knew then it was a mistake, toughed it out for 2 more years of abuse before I left. So glad I did.
When I got married, I saw why women become bridezillas. Lots of unsolicited advice, criticism, requests and stupid comments. When we sent out our invites, I included a line that said, "Do you have a request you think we should make? Click on this link to start." It was a link to PayPal for a donation. If you're gonna give us your unsolicited advice, you should join in on the funding. People got the message. I didn't marry the bridezilla, but I had coordinated her wedding. We had a death in the family, 6-month-old baby, a few days prior to the wedding. I called the bride and told her the situation, and said that my assistant would be stepping in for me so that I could attend the funeral. She told me to send my assistant to the funeral and that I had better be at her wedding. I told her I would be sending her a refund and that no one would be coming to her wedding. The groom ended up leaving her after this whole thing went down. Suffice to say he really dodged a bullet there.
Married a groomzilla. We are talking costume changes between wedding and reception, yelling at the wedding planner, drag out all-night fights about whether we can add fruit kebabs so people would maybe get enough to eat, all that. There was zero compromise. He made a lot of promises for things I had been wanting after the wedding and they never materialized, like a beach vacation and such. Turns out, no compromise at the wedding meant no compromise anywhere else, so I left him after 4 years of marriage. Best decision ever.
Been married 14 years. She's definitely a pain in the ass sometimes, but so is everyone else. I'm also pretty laid back, so a lot of decisions I leave to her because I just don't care. If it's a decision I do care about, I make the decision. Without her, I wouldn't have the 3 best kids on earth. She's an amazing mom and our kids have our best qualities. We have fun all the time. I think she was a bridezilla not because she was a crazy person. It was more about making the moment right for everyone and making it a great memory. She had a relatively rough life with her parents and there weren't a ton of great memories. I notice she goes way out of her way to make great memories for the kids as she's always planning stuff for us to do with them. I'm gonna keep her.
First wife was a bridezilla. During the honeymoon she realized she was married and the wedding day was history. She wanted the big wedding, which she had, not the marriage. The next 2 years were hell until she finally tapped out. I was young and stupid and the thought of divorce never crossed my mind. I don't know why it didn't. I guess I just assumed I'd be miserable the rest of my life. When she told me she was leaving, it felt as if the weight of the world was off of my shoulders. On a happy note, her parents were still paying off the wedding when we divorced. That's what happens when you allow your daughter everything she wanted, including 2 wedding dresses.
I know this is not what you are asking, but my friend married a groomzilla. It was seriously nuts to watch. It could have easily wrecked all her friendships. He was so bossy and had zero sense of how crazy he was acting. They are fine and he is back to normal, but I think it highlighted his controlling tendencies. Blink twice if you are in danger, my dudes.
Kind of the opposite end of the spectrum. My wife and I eloped a few months before our wedding, and kept it mostly a secret. Then on the day of, we could just focus on having an awesome party for us and our friends. Our pastor cancelled the day of after standing is up for the rehearsal. My wife checked into the hotel the morning of and the lady asked. Lady at counter. Is there anything else I can help you with? Wife jokingly. Yes, a pastor, lack. Our omelette chef is ordained. Lack. Hey Tony. You busy tonight? Tony. No, wife. Okay.
HELPME.
Before reading these comments I thought a bridezilla was a woman huge and strong enough to be compared to Godzilla, and entered the thread eagerly expecting to read stories about grooms getting lifted and carried off into the sunset on wedding day. I am very disappointed.
Ha ha ha. Those guys don't have Reddit accounts. At least not unfiltered accounts with which they could post an honest answer.
Do you mean off the TV show or just in general? My wife totally took over our wedding plans, but to be fair I just left her to it. I could see how much her perfect day meant, and to be honest there was very little I would have changed anyway. We have very similar tastes. 17 years and we have discussed it, and she genuinely thought we had come to joint decisions over everything. I pointed out she booked a band and DJ from a magazine even though I worked for an entertainment agency and knew some much better artists, and it kind of hit home. We agreed that for our 20th anniversary we would arrange a celebration together. At the end of the day it is the celebration and the people that make a day special. If you get that right, the details are not important.
Divorce. My army buddies said they could see it coming. I am easygoing, enjoy almost everything, and she was upset after what looked like a perfect wedding. She later said she wanted a smaller wedding. I don't talk to her or read emails and texts from her. Full of anger and spite, and I tell her so usually in a reply. Last year her tax return was deposited in my bank account, and I contacted her to ask for account details so I could transfer it to her. I got a 3-page email about how if I spent anything she would have lawyers go after me. So I mailed a check to her, the slowest way possible.
My uncle married this lady who was an insane bridezilla and put him into an enormous amount of debt because she wouldn't settle for any less than her perfect dream wedding. She had the marriage annulled after the fancy honeymoon and said she didn't want to be his wife but she always wanted to have her dream wedding. Bitch.
Man, after reading some of these stories, I fucking love my wife. She's awesome and her family was awesome during that time in our lives. I just wanted some good music and good food and to marry my best friend. I got all three. Not a guy, but I'm pretty sure my venue thinks I'm a bridezilla. The situation was that I asked for a second tasting, I was calm and asked via email, even had my fiancé read it before sending. The reason? I told him I'm a vegetarian several times prior and when I got to the first tasting I couldn't eat anything and they even put bacon on the salad they served me. We also asked for absolutely no bacon, pig because we had quite a few people coming who didn't eat it for religious reasons. My fiancé had like 7 full-size dishes around him and I was just sitting there with a glass of wine for over an hour. They were very rude and treated me like a bridezilla when I came for the second tasting.
I can see myself turning into this person organizing a wedding as stress doesn't sit well with me, so if ever I was to get married I would be better off just going away doing a Las Vegas ceremony and then a party when home and I think every person in my life would understand fully as it'd make their lives a living hell. Lol.
GS' former friend was a bridezilla. Didn't smile once at her own wedding because she was too busy freaking out over insignificant details. Although she has a master's degree with unpaid college loans, she's now a permanent stay-at-home mom, an anti-vaxxer, and a conspiracy theorist. She spends her days getting into Facebook beefs with anyone who isn't woke enough. No idea how her husband hasn't gone crazy, 'cause as far as I know he's not into any of that.
What's a bridezilla? Oh. A girlfriend who was exposed to too much radiation and toxic waste off the coast of Japan.
Their wives monitor their PCs, check their internet histories to make sure they aren't cheating on them by watching porn even though I haven't had sex with him in 2 years, and is busy running the visa bill up to $50,000 for the 4th time in 6 years, necessitating yet another refinancing on their starter home that they bought for $275,000 but now have a $600,000 lien on.
All of these stories make me want to elope instead of have a wedding. I used to work in the wedding industry. We did 105 weddings a year. I worked there for 5 years. I've seen it all, heard it all. But the thing that stuck with me the most? One bride was about to walk down the aisle and she said, "I just can't wait to see him, to be with him, to kiss him," and at that instant, you realize how much fluff people put into their days, that they lose sight of what's most important, them and their relationship.
My wife was really into the wedding planning. Yelled and cried and screamed about the lace not being the right shade. I did like her but I found her annoying and although I like demanding people, I couldn't take it and I have a boyfriend now.
My cousin was an unbelievable bridezilla. About a year after their horrifying wedding, her husband convinced her to seek help for her mental health. 5 years later, she's in a much better place and they're happy. Just in case anyone wanted a happy story, smiling face.
Married a bridezilla. In the 18 months we were married, she was such an unfit mother, too many instances to list here, that when the divorce was finalized, I got custody of our kid and the kid she had prior to our marriage. Also, she was a blackout drunk and cheated on me with several different men. Final straw was when I had to travel out of state to check on my grandmother. I came back a day early, saw used Marlboros in the ashtray, not her brand, I don't smoke, and then I heard grunting and groaning in the bedroom. Yep, there she was. And there he was. And there he was. Devil's Triangle. Contacted a divorce lawyer the next day, finalized it as fast as possible. I'm a wedding officiant who has married over 300 couples. I know, wrong kind of married. Only a few bridezillas in there, and they're actually super easy for me to work with. They write their own ceremony, don't depend on me to run the rehearsal, and they don't try to dicker me down on the price. Motherzillas of the bride, on the other hand, are my worst fear, as they can quickly make my job miserable. If they're failing to get their way on interfering with their daughter's wedding, they'll try to use me as a proxy. Edit, grammar and spelling.
She had sex with a bunch of my friends, including my ex-wife. She stabbed me in the thigh during the meal at our wedding. Still in prison. I'm a woman who married a groomzilla. We were married for about 3 years before I was through with his abusive and entitled behaviors. I also realized I'm gay and am now engaged to the most wonderful woman who just wants to have a simple wedding in the forest. I'm so glad I didn't marry a bridezilla. Based on my wife's personality I thought she would be, but she was totally cool. 15 minutes into our reception her uncle accidentally bumped into her and spilled red wine all over her wedding dress. I clinched for what I thought would be a foul string of curses followed by crying. But nope, she didn't give a shit. She laughed and said fuck it when the bridesmaids ran over trying to wipe it off.
My sister's MOH was a maidzilla. Didn't know that was a thing until it happened. My sister's a pretty laid-back person, but her best friend was a perfectionist and felt the need to push everyone else's feelings aside, including the bride, to make sure it would go exactly the way she envisioned. My sister eventually couldn't take the unnecessary stress of her planning anymore and politely kicked her out of the wedding party about a month before ceremony. She replaced her with someone else almost as close but way more relaxed and compatible with my sister socially.
My friend married one. Less than 6 months in, she wanted a renewing their vows ceremony. My friend didn't marry a bridezilla, but he dated this girl that posted engagement rings and such 1 month after meeting. Tagged on Facebook circa 2014. They dated and got engaged in 2018 July, and for 4+ years she posted everything about her wedding. Like 4 straight years posting wedding shit prior to being engaged. The TWOO had zero in common. Literally zero. They were both nice, but she leaned hard left and he leaned hard right. We questioned both of them and asked how they expected to raise kids together with such different outlooks on life. Their excuse, we don't talk politics so we never fight, lol. Well, now they're both single. She was so caught up in the wedding from day one she never thought about what life would be like after that. Didn't marry her. Couldn't be happier. I mean, it only ended because she was a lying, cheating piece of trash person, but all the wedding planning stuff was its own special hell. Demanding the most expensive place, the most expensive photographer, fancy cars etc. to the ceremony. All of which we couldn't afford, and that cost me all of my savings in nothing but deposits. I didn't realize how unhappy I was in that relationship till I was out of it. Now I'm with someone who is simply amazing and makes me super happy. She apparently started cheating a few weeks before the wedding. He suspected, took him a while before he confirmed, they divorced. She was a horrible woman. Friend had to go to therapy, went deeper into religion, found a new woman who is very nice, makes him happy, now has a little girl and is finally happy. First wife ended up marrying the guy she was cheating with, don't really care about her anymore.
I married a groomzilla. Bent over backwards to make the wedding ad magical as he wanted. I would have been happy in someone's backyard with a potluck. He admitted in couples counseling 7 years later that he never really wanted to marry me so much as he wanted a huge show and party. Everyone liked and approved of me, so he wanted them all to see he was making a good choice and be envious. He wanted him to be proud of him. We used up most of the money I got from a car accident settlement. Could have put in a down payment in a small house. He asked for divorce in 2020.